por acá. Pero vamos a dar la vuelta.
Dad, you know what plane we ride back on?
I forget. Oh, look.
A gente passamos por aqui sim.
Well, look.
So, Mark, where were
Yeah.
the elevators?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they were just platforms that were raised up by ropes, and that was it.
See that right there?
I don't.
Those three things right there, they're curved, and there's like a brick facade right there.
Yeah.
Could be that sort of thing where the ropes would.
I know that.
Why would you do it in the middle of the thing? Wouldn't you take them off to the side?
No,
and
because
bring
that's
them
where
down?
that's the whole idea. They wanted to have
Bring them out of the ground?
Yeah, bring them right up out of the ground, right where everybody saw. Yeah.
You do it on
But
cue.
didn't they keep them like behind like cages and then
Yeah, and they would take them out of the cages. They would starve them, and they would take them out. And they would be just
Show them
man-eating.
the cage right where the opening of the platform is.
Right.
Shove the animal out there with spears and things, and then somehow lift the thing up before he gets able to get back into the cage.
Right. They had them on chains, and then they'd let the animal go, and the gladiator would fight the tiger.
But how it would appear out of the stage floor would be amazing. Because if there's sand out everywhere, how do you do this without the sand?
Well, I mean,
falling into the hole?
they probably had the sand fall into the hole, and they just scooped it up. And I mean, you know, you had to put up with something back then.
No, but I mean,
The sand would fall down, and I guess you're right, because the sand is heavy. But then again, they had a lot of people pulling on those ropes, and they probably had elephants, and and not elephants down there, but maybe they had some lever and pulley system.
it was running along certain corridors.
It was all human and animal power. But you know better than I that you can set up levers and pulleys and counterweights that make lifting things pretty damn easy if you do it the right way.
Right, but usually with counterweights, they have to go down.
They did.
But so there must have been pits that were farther down.
Possibly.
They were farther dug down, like 2 stories down.
Possibly.
With all kinds of, blocks that size,
Well, the Romans had a lot of technology that people don't give them credit for. They had like catapults that would throw huge flaming tar balls like half a mile at the enemy, And it was just...
So they could easily go from one end to this.
They could probably figure out how to, But there are books about it you can get, and I know they've discovered where the elevators are because that's how they discovered that there were elevators. And they probably had accounts from the past because this thing was still in operation in AD 500 and beyond. And it fell into disuse after that point in time, which is kind of a shame. I mean,
waste to have all this and go,
Well, yeah. Well, back then the Catholic Church was very, zealous about not allowing the pagan lifestyle to proceed, and they saw this as an example of it.
They could have changed it into something more.
Plus the fact it became a shrine.
Well, see, that's the thing. There are people who say, let's rebuild it as it was, and then we'll just hold, rock concerts in it and operas, and like they do in Verona. They have one like this, a lot smaller, but they have it, and they still use it to this day, and it's still in one piece. This has been...
It's a shame that it's been...
It was destroyed by a huge earthquake. That whole wall fell down because of an earthquake. And then nobody was around to put it back after AD 500 because the empire crashed. And there was no more taxes to fund the... One of the problems with the Roman Empire is that it was only prosperous while expanding. Once it got to its maximum limit, there were no more people to conquer and to bring tribute back from.
You can still tax your people that live there.
Right.
Called diminishing returns.
Yeah, because all that Rome was due to conquest, and they would conquer Egypt. And they brought the building materials back from Egypt, and they brought building materials from North Africa. And there are other building sites. Carrara, Italy, was the source of the marble.
Marble.
So it had like a built-in time limit, and after that they just couldn't maintain the expansion, you know. Also,
not for the expansion, just to maintain what they had.
right.
Would have been a good thing.
Yeah, the Roman army became a mercenary army, and most of the soldiers were foreign soldiers, and
They didn't care.
you know, so it was a brutal civilization. I mean, you look at the buildings and you think it's great, you know, what a wonderful place to come and visit. But in its day, it was very brutal, you know.
I mean, for that reason, though, you can see why they wanted to not reproduce this place. You know, they wanted
That's
to forget
why
about it.
they wanted. Initially, they wanted to forget it, but now it's such a great tourist attraction, you know. And I think the Romans are more remembered for their architecture
Right.
than their social practices. And the original Rome was not all that bad. I mean, the Republican era was fairly just and, you know, moralistic, you know, but it was corrupted, I guess, you know, by the, you know, and, you know, the Roman roads they built allowed the Roman army to reach other parts of the empire rapidly to defend the border. But it also let the barbarians come in fast too, see?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
So they got, you know.
Yeah.
Attenzione, prego, si avvisa che il movimento chiuderà tra 15 minuti. Vi preghiamo di seguire la linea del biglietteria e di avvicinarvi all'uscita, grazie. Attention please, remain at the moment, we close 15 minutes. Please keep the guide back to the top, stand to the exit, thank you. Attenzione per favore, il Colosseum passerà dentro i 15 minuti. Entregate la linea della tecnica e accercarsi alla salita, grazie. Attenzione prego, si avvisa che il movimento chiuderà tra 15 minuti. Vi preghiamo di seguire la linea del biglietteria e avvicinarvi all'uscita, grazie. Attention please, remain at the moment, we close 15 minutes. Please keep the guide back to the top, stand to the exit, thank you. Attenzione per favore, il Colosseum passerà dentro i 15 minuti. Entregare la bevita alla tecnica e accercarsi alla salita, grazie.
There was one architect, I forget his name, he died recently, who wanted to rebuild this place. He first wanted to start with the outer wall because he felt that if he didn't rebuild the outer wall, eventually he wouldn't be able to stop the further deterioration of the place. But he never got it off the ground, then he died. You know. So he just died a couple years ago. You know, at least I'd like to see them rebuild the outer wall and do a section, just a section.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a section right here. You know, preserve some of the ruin, but allow enough utilitarian reconstruction so that you can, you know, maybe put a glass over the floor or whatever. You know.
Well, it looks like you can't even get down in here. There's just too much grass. There's
nobody down there.
You can't tell anybody walked there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look at it this way. They can't even keep the buses running on time here. How can you possibly think that they could restore this place? They don't have any money. And all the money that's coming in to restore this place is coming from large, there was a shoe company that was giving the Italian government some money to do the restoration. I think they're going to start in July. They're going to start in July doing sandblasting to get it clean, you know. But it's not going to be a full restoration. It's just going to try to preserve what's left.
I was telling Emily that,
You know?
going to Disneyland, it costs $104 a person.
Yeah.
Here they're only charging, 18.
Right.
So,
You know,
for 3 attractions.
but
Would you come here?
Not everybody can get to the United States.
Bill Gates could. What if Bill Gates? Bill Gates worth what, $80 billion or what, 46 to 80 billion dollars, depending on the stock market. Why can't he give him 500 million? I would. If I was a billionaire, I'd give him 500 million
His
bucks.
priorities are with charities that help
Yeah.
the human race,
Yeah.
not with preserving
Not
history.
with history,
you know?
yeah.
Well, I know. It depends upon your priorities, you know.
That's right.
I would preserve history too, you know.
I know.
We may do it in the U.S., preserve things, but I'm not sure.
You know, I mean, imagine all the damage from the continuing expansion and contraction due to ice and stuff, you know, in the wintertime. Ice gets in the cracks and freezes, and eventually it's just going to...
But look how it's held up pretty well, I think, for
Yeah.
all those years.
It was built in 79 AD and dedicated in 81.
2 years.
And this was built because the population of Rome was so disenchanted with the behavior of Nero that they knocked his house down, the Golden Palace, the Domus Aurea, and this was built on the artificial lake that existed in a colonnaded area of the Domus Aurea. And there's like the underground river running under this thing. And that's how they were able to flood it, because they had a source of water.
Right.
So they built this for the common people, so that the population of Rome could come and enjoy themselves. And then the emperor was able to reestablish the good relationship between the imperial throne and the population. And that's where you get the term bread and circuses, you know, because they would give free food to the poor here. They would come and they would watch the fights, and they would literally throw bread at them. Just like they throw T-shirts at the stadium.
Yeah.
The same thing, exactly the same thing.
Just
So,
food.
you know, and the upper classes, I forget where they would sit. The poor would sit up at the highest
The
levels,
nosebleed area.
because you'd have to climb the highest. And the emperor was like over there, where those seats are. That's where his place was. And then the senators would sit at the very bottom. And all the seats were numbered. And you would get a ticket with the number. With all these exits, 50,000 people could get in and out rapidly. You know?
All controls.
They were called vomitoria because when you exited the building, you vomited. Vomitoria are these things. That's a vomitoria.
I wonder how many security was, you know, were there Roman guards? You know,
Oh, yeah.
You know, at every pillar or something like that.
Yeah, I think
you can almost imagine that, you know.
Oh, they didn't want the gladiators to escape, and they didn't want...
They want the people to get a little bit too,
yeah.
you know, I'm sure there was drunks in the crowd. So.
Well,
They were the ones that were next bait for the lions.
yeah, drunks in the crowd.
I wonder how many people got dragged out of their seats because they were belligerent and said, okay, you're going in now.
Yeah.
Throw them over the side.
Right. And that thing about the thumbs down, that never happened.
No?
The emperor would drop a white scarf if he felt that the gladiator should die.
What about
Like
if he wanted to live? Like that, or
I don't know what he did.
yeah,
But
white scarf would drop.
this also, or he would do this like that to the neck. You know.
And